no doubt kids are some of the most wonderful things that can happen to a family, but kids can also bring about some serious questions. Here to talk about the so-called Wonder Weeks in infant development is Amy Trott, once again, a psychologist and mom herself. Good morning.
Hi.
I love that they're labeled Wonder Weeks.
Yeah, because they're wonderful.
They are, aren't they? Explain, I'm kind of just new to this term. Of course, you know, I have 2 kids under 2 right now, so I'm going to get familiar with this quite a bit.
Right.
What are Wonder Weeks?
Well, you know, these Dutch researchers, a husband and wife team, did decades worth of data collection on mother-child, parent-child dyads.
Okay.
And so what they found after they collected this research was really that there are 10 measurable, incredible weeks in child development, infant development, in infants under the age of 20 months.
Okay.
So those first just under 2 years, there are these 10 very predictable, I mean within a few days, weeks, that you can track major milestones in your child's neurological development. Now these come with what we see on the outside is, we see the 3 C's, clinging, crying, and crankiness. So we see kiddos that are much more needy, much more fussy. Even really easy kids tend to go in a downward slump with their neediness and their fussiness. They seem like there's something wrong. They may sleep worse, they may eat less. They just aren't kind of up to par.
And what's going, is it just a mental thing where it's just too much, it's almost like overload kind of, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're learning, they're trying to really integrate new information. So they are a little overwhelmed, a little overloaded, and something is really rapidly changing in their perceptual system. Think of like your 5 senses. Something's going on that's going to majorly change them. And once they sort of integrate that, I mean, it doesn't fully integrate at the end of the Wonder Week, but once they integrate it to a comfortable level, they go back to their whatever their norm is. For your own
does
kiddo.
it normally last about a week?
Lasts about a week. It can vary. They say, you know, a week prior to a week after that Wonder Week. So there's some variance. You calculate it based on your actual due date and not your date of delivery.
Oh, really?
Because it's really based on conception, you know, for more of a true number. So your kiddo may be off a bit, but they're probably going to be off a bit
Where
the whole way
can you find,
through.
because I know everyone's going, okay, when I want to chart these, so how can you chart the 10?
Well, there's an app now for the Wonder Weeks.
Of course there is.
Yeah, of course there is. There's also a book out that's called The Wonder Weeks, so you can look it up and order that as well. But yeah, it's pretty neat, and you can learn a lot about your kiddo's own personality based on the task that they choose to integrate during their particular Wonder Week.
Okay, so there's those 10 weeks, highly predictable. You're saying this is pretty spot on.
Yeah, they've done a lot of research on this.
Have you seen it with your kids too?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And then increase in crankiness, crying, and clinginess. Is there anything you can do to, or do you just have to get through that week? Well,
okay, so here's the deal. I think as parents, we get a little paranoid and we think, oh, maybe they need a new mattress. They're not sleeping well. Or maybe they're not the food I'm feeding isn't agreeing with them. Or maybe there's something wrong with the milk supply. Or so, you know, we try to brainstorm all these external variables. I think it should give us a great deal of peace. If it lines up with a Wonder Week and our kiddo's out of sorts, it's okay. Take a breath. There are some activities and toy options, even homemade toys, whether it's plastic lids that you put on top of plastic bowls, whatever the kiddo's task is that they're trying to learn, or the choice of tasks, you can offer a palette of play options that can help them integrate information. So
kind of give them something to do to get that extra energy out.
Right, little tools to help them sort of sort, and they get to choose. So imagine going, you know, down a grocery store aisle. They can have the choice of anything on that aisle that week, but they can't get everything. So they may choose something that's more of a motor skill or more of a verbal skill. They're going to make their choices, though, so you can play in the parameters of what those tasks may be that week.
Well, on your last point, learn about your child's personality and preferences. This is when you can kind of gauge that a little bit more?
Yeah, you can sort of track over time the tasks that your own kiddo chooses to integrate and to synthesize and to sort of master at the end of that week. Out of maybe 4 or 5 tasks, they may choose 1 or 2 and they may really get it down. You're like, wow, interesting. My kiddo's much more organized than I would have anticipated, or my kid's much more motor driven than verbal. You know, you can kind of learn about your kiddo during those 20 months.
So kind of embrace it and use it as a learning experience for mom and dad too. Well, as our take home as we close this morning, what do you want people and parents to really understand about Wonder Weeks? And
you know, our kids
give them
are
some encouragement.
They're so unique on many, many fronts, but there's a lot of similarities between kids and development. And so I think what this can do is kind of help take the question marks away from some of the things as parents that really do drive us crazy. When our kids are doing great and then all of a sudden they have this jag in temperament or jag in nap time or jag in feeding. If there's something that we can do to help facilitate a smoother transition, the Wonder Weeks are one way we can kind of help our kiddos from another perspective.
Well, aren't you wonderful in letting all the parents out there know? I know, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Amy, for being here. We, of course, look forward to having you back.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Amy.
And we'll be right back with one last look at your Fox forecast.